Yo, it's Elut. Welcome back to the channel. Branded Despia deck profile update. And I want to show off this new mat, dude. Look at the doggy, dude. He's so cool. But anyway, so my last Branded Despia list was in sort of a transitional period. I was trying to take out a lot of things just to see how much I would miss them. And certain ones I didn't miss, and certain ones I did kind of miss, and I brought back. So I won't dwell too much on like the simple stuff. This will probably be a quicker video compared to my other ones. But here we go. So, 3 Fallen of Albaz, we like 3, and 2 Aliber because I hate him. I think 2 is fine, honestly. I don't like bricking on Alibers. That's like one of my least favorite things in Branded, is drawing too many normal summons at once. I do feel like the second one comes up sometimes, but I never ever felt like the third one did. So, I think that's fine for me personally. 3 Albaz, 2 Aliber. Still on 2 Quem. I think 2 Quem is great, and 2 Cartesia is great, but of course we play 3 Fusion Deployment, so there's really 5 copies of this. Both do so much work. Both are great cards. Big fan. Big fan. And then some one-ofs. We have the Merc in Engine Hand Trap, Tragedy for various utility purposes, Shroudion, or Upstart Dragon, I've heard him called. That shit is so funny. And then I brought him back, dude, my goat, Ad Libitum. So I don't think Branded needs Ad Libitum. I didn't feel like playing without Ad Libitum, that I was like, damn it, dude, this deck is so much worse without him. But it does get better with him, if that makes sense. It's like you can still get your double mirrorjade banishes if you have Quem and Cartesia on board. But at the same time, if you have access to Branded in red along with those 3, you can make granguignol, send ad lib, and then you get 3 mirrorjade banishes, so it like ups your ceiling a little bit. I also kind of always liked that ad lib is a quote-unquote out to something like evenly matched. Out is maybe a weird word, but if you don't happen to know, what you can do is if someone hits the evenly matched, you chain Branded in red and ad lib. You banish ad lib and mirrorjade for Predaplant. Then evenly matched resolves. You banish everything but Predaplant, and then after that all resolves, ad lib will trigger to bring back mirrorjade. So you at least have 2 big fusions on your board. Ad lib's just cool. I never really felt like he was a brick like some people do. At the very least, like, you don't have to search him if he's in your hand. You can discard him for a number of different effects. And he's a dark, so he's material for a lot of things too. So I really like him, so I brought him back. I'm cool with ad lib, dude. And then the 2 Bestials, Bestial Lubellion and Saronir. They both do what I want them to do. I have been playing a lot of Branded Synchro recently, and I want to make a profile on that, but I went to do it, and there's a couple cards that I am missing that I thought I had, and turns out I don't have. Whoops. So that'll be coming very soon, like hopefully within like the next week or so, where we go crazy on the Bestial count. But for Branded Despia, these 2 are fine. I really don't feel like I want any more. And then we also brought back Dragoon and Dark Magician. And then just to round out the monsters, I'm still playing 2 Fenrir. I think 3 Fenrir is fine. 2 is like the sort of standard, if that makes sense. He's more icing on the cake than anything else. If I draw one, great. If I don't really need him. It's not like it's part of my engine or something. So I think 2 is fine to make room for possibly some other things. So that's why we're down to 2 from 3. And Dark Magician I want to talk about. So if you play Versago instead of Dark Magician as your route to Dragoon, I think that is completely valid. Because if you don't know Versago, I'll put a picture on the screen because I don't have the card on me at the moment. He can be used as a substitute for a specific named fusion material. And I think if you want to make Dragoon with Versago, that's cool, because Versago can also be used as any of your other specifically listed fusions like Albaz or Cartesia. I think that's cool. I think it makes more sense in like a Chimera branded build though, because a lot of the Chimera branded builds only run 2 Albaz. Some run 3, but a lot are only running 2. So he kind of helps you out there. But I like Dark Magician simply because I like the Dragoon pop, to be completely honest. I think that's fun. I think that is helpful a lot of the time. But also, getting this out via fusion deployment actually does kind of help sometimes. Occasionally, depending on what else I have in my hand, I've found that sometimes just fusion deployment for Dark Magician to hit over an Appaloosa and then play everything else after that is sometimes the right play. Like, sometimes it's actually kind of nice. So I like being able to search him in that way if I want him. And Dragoon helps a lot playing through Shifter and things like that. I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. If you play Versago, I think that's totally valid. The other thing I wanted to mention is if you play the Light Hex Sealed Fusion instead of Dark Magician in order to make Dragoon, I think that's a little bit misguided. Because what that means is you're making Dragoon through Albion. Because you'd send Albaz and the Light Hex Sealed Fusion, make Albion, banish those two, the Light Hex Sealed Fusion is substitute for Dark Magician, you make Dragoon. And I really don't like that. In my early days of playing Branded, I was playing the Light Hex Sealed Fusion just to try it out. But I think the reason you play Dragoon, one is against like a lot of back row matchups, or like the Runic engine, like Dark Magician just cooks the Runic engine. And also playing through Shifter. And if you're under Shifter and you go, oh shit, I would love to have a Dragoon right now, you can't make it through Albion anyways. So if you make Albion and send the Light Hex Sealed Fusion, what are you doing? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So just my personal opinion on that. But yeah, I personally like the Dark Magician. I also think Versago is perfectly fine and valid. I almost combined the two words there. And then the last monsters technically is the 3 Ash, because it is the most generic monster hand trap there is. You can side it out if you decide that something else would be better in the matchup. That's what the side deck is for. And then the spells and traps. So the 3 opening, 3 fusion, and 3 deployment. Standard stuff. I don't really have to explain that, do I? This is standard for branded Despia stuff. And then the 1 of branded spells. So we have the Lost, of course. We have the Red, of course. We have the Retribution, of course. And I brought back Branded in White. I really like this card, actually. I've been wanting to bring it back for a while. And it's just kind of nice. Depending on what you draw, sometimes Branded in White is just straight up better. Because, 1, it can't be ashed, for one thing. That's always nice. But this is also kind of an easier way to make Dragoon, which is kind of nice sometimes. That way you don't have to make it through Branded Fusion, or if you have to use Cartesia to fuse something else or whatever. Branded in White is kind of cool. I actually really like it. I think it's fine in this build as a 1 of, because, you know, the sort of goal of Branded Despia is, like, for lack of a better term, Branded Fusion Turbo. A lot of the time, so like we don't really care about like not locking ourselves to fusions or anything like that. In Branded Synchro, I am playing this at 2 because I think it's a little bit more important there. But it's searchable if you want it, and if you happen to draw it, you're not going to brick on it because you're only playing 1. And it's actually quite nice. I actually really like it. So we brought that back. 2 triple tech's busted. 2 cross out, 1 called by. I talked about this in the last profile as well. Instead of 3 cross out, 1 called by, I'm just doing a total of 3 with this ratio. And they cover similar bases. Yeah, you can hit the Ash with any of them, as well as reacting to Ash with this after the fact. That's also pretty mean. But I don't want to have 3 cross out instead of called by, just because of, in the event someone shifters me on my turn, I want to called by that shit. You know, yeah, it's a 1-off, you gotta hard draw it, but at the same time, you know, I like to cover my bases a little bit better. Because Shifter, like, people say, like, oh, called by is for Ash, and that's true, unless you can called by the Shifter. That is way worse. So, I actually like this ratio quite a bit. And then the last 3, this is a 42 card build. I'm a big fan of branded builds that go over 40 cards. 42 is just a number that feels right to me. We just have the 3 imperm. This is a cross-out target, of course, if you'd like, but it's just so generic and so good going first or second. So we like the card. Enough said about that. Okay, and then the extra deck. We're pretty much back to basics on this one, as far as my builds tend to go. So the 2 Albion, the 1 Lubellion, and the 2 mirrorjade, standard stuff. Lubellion will be shuffling himself back pretty much every time. You would not shuffle back Lubellion in one specific case that I can think of off the top of my head, which is, like, if you're playing through Shifter and you're going first or whatever, let's say you search, let's say you have Branded Fusion in hand, right? And I'm actually going to do a whole video on playing through Shifter with Branded Despia, because I think that would be helpful. But one option that you could have at your disposal is if you're playing through Shifter and you have Branded Fusion in your hand and either Aluber or Branded Opening, you can Opening for the Aluber and search Retribution. Then Branded Fusion for Lubellion, send albaz and Dark Magician. They'll get banished. He will shuffle those 2 back to make Dragoon. He will be left on field. And then you set the Retribution. That's like the only real time I feel like you wouldn't be shuffling Lubellion back. Just because it's another interaction that you have besides Dragoon under Shifter. But usually he's going to go back. So you only need 1. That was a long explanation. I didn't expect to actually go over that here. But anyways, Sanctifier, 1 of, no Gimmick Puppet in sight because that's cringe, but we still like him. He's still cool. He's easy to make. He's a 3K beater. 1 Rinbrum and 1 Titaniclad. I love these 2 for their grave effects especially, but Titaniclad, I kind of like him on field a good bit of the time as well. So, also pretty standard for me. The 1 Granguignol, the Quertus to cheat out off of Granguignol for some protection, and Masquerade, my goat, because I love Masquerade. I just love this card, dude. I love the burn damage. Burn damage is so funny to me. We are still playing the Malong to send off of Granguignol for a bounce. That is always nice. And then our mostly branded in red targets being Predaplant Dragostapelia. I pretty much will never cut this card. And then the Chimera for the pops and draws. And the final one, as I've already talked about, is Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. We brought him back. To say you need Dragoon in branded is maybe too strong of a wording, but I do think he really helps. I do think that when you want him, you really want him in specific matchups and everything. Like, your standard play, as I've said before, is not making Dragoon through Branded Fusion unless you know it's great in the matchup over a mirrorjade or under Shifter or whatever. Because some decks just really have a hard time outing him, and he just cooks, and that's really fun. He's just a fun card on top of that as well. So, yeah, we like Dragoon, and that's going to be it for me today. I have a couple videos that I want to make coming up. Sorry, I took like 2 weeks just to update you on this. That's my bad, but I will have a branded Synchro build very soon. I want to talk about that a lot because it's very fun. And then some help with other hand traps for people that are newer to the deck. Things like playing through Shifter, which I kind of touched on here, and stuff like that. So, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the profile. I'll see you around. Peace.